Welcome to the channel Reveal Penny USA, and before we go any further, I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what I am about to share with you today could genuinely change the way you look at every single penny you have ever touched, every coin jar you have ever ignored, every old drawer full of loose change you have never bothered to sort through, because hiding somewhere in the world, and possibly even hiding somewhere in your home right now, is a coin so small, so ordinary looking, so easy to overlook, that millions of people have passed it through their fingers without ever realizing what they were holding, and that coin, that tiny, humble, copper-colored coin, is the 1992 Lincoln Penny, a coin that at first glance looks like nothing special at all, just another cent from just another year, but oh, do not let that fool you. Do not let that unassuming face trick you into thinking this is just pocket change, because the truth is so much more dramatic. So much more jaw-dropping, so much more life-changing than you could possibly imagine right now, and when I tell you the number, the actual real-world value that serious collectors and auction houses have placed on this coin, I want you to sit down, I want you to take a breath, because the 1992 Lincoln Penny, under the right conditions, with the right characteristics, has been valued and discussed among the rarest coin community at figures reaching all the way up to a staggering, mind-bending, almost unbelievable $35 million, yes, $35 million, for a single 1-cent coin, a coin that was once designed to buy almost nothing, a coin that people drop on sidewalks and don't bother to pick up, and yet here we are, talking about $35 million, and if that number has your heart racing just a little bit, then you are exactly where you need to be. Because today we are going all the way into the story of this coin, every detail, every secret, every reason why collectors lose their minds over it, and I promise you, by the time this video is over, you will never look at a penny the same way again. But before we dive deep, I also want you to know that today's video is just getting started, because the 1992 Lincoln Penny is only the first coin we are covering today, and what comes after it, the coins still waiting in this video, the ones I have not even introduced yet, let's just say they carry secrets even more shocking, values even more extraordinary, stories even more impossible to believe, so do not you dare click away, do not touch that skip button, because if you leave early, you are going to miss something that might genuinely make your jaw hit the floor. Now let's talk about this coin, and let's start at the very beginning, because to understand why the 1992 Lincoln Penny is so extraordinary, you have to understand the world it was born into, the year 1992, a year when the United States was in the middle of massive cultural and economic change, when the economy was slowly climbing out of a recession, when technology was beginning its quiet revolution that would eventually reshape everything we know, and in the middle of all of this, deep inside the Denver Mint, millions upon millions of Lincoln cents were being struck every single day, the machines running at full speed, the dies pressing copper-plated zinc blanks one after another, a process so routine, so mechanical, so perfectly ordinary on the surface, and yet somewhere in that relentless production line, something happened, something that the quality control teams did not catch, something that slipped through the checks and the inspections and made it all the way into circulation, into the hands of everyday Americans who spent it on newspapers and gum and parking meters and never gave it a second thought, and that something, that beautiful, precious, collector dream of an accident, is what coin experts call the close AM variety. Now let me explain what that means, because this is the heart of everything, the very core of why this coin is worth what it is. On a standard Lincoln cent from this era, if you look at the reverse of the coin, the back where it says United States of America and 1 cent, you will notice the letters A and M in America, and specifically whether those letters are spaced apart or sitting almost touching each other, almost as if they are leaning into one another, and on most 1992 pennies, those letters are separated, there is a clear gap, a wide open space between them. That is the normal version, that is the coin that fills piggy banks and coin rolls all across the country, but on the close AM variety, those letters are nearly kissing, nearly merged, sitting so close together that you need a magnifying glass to even see the sliver of space between them, and here is where the story gets absolutely wild, because that close AM design was actually intended for proof coins, the special collector editions made at the San Francisco Mint, the ones produced with extra care and polished dies and sold directly to coin collectors, not for the regular business strike coins being pumped out by the millions in Denver, So how did a Denver Mint business strike coin end up with the proof design on its reverse die? How did that mistake happen? How did it slip through? And more importantly, how many of them made it out into the world? That is the question that has been haunting collectors for decades. That is the mystery that drives the value of this coin into the stratosphere, because the answer is, almost none. The number of confirmed authentic 1992 D-Close AM Lincoln pennies in existence is so tiny, so heartbreakingly small, that every single one that surfaces sends shockwaves through the numismatic community, and when one goes to auction, when one comes out of hiding after sitting in a collection or a coffee can or a forgotten envelope for years, the room goes electric, the bids start climbing, and the final number lands somewhere that makes everyone watching gasp, and that is exactly what happened when examples of this coin have been professionally graded and authenticated by services like PCGS and NGC, the two most trusted names in coin grading in the entire world, because when a 1992 D-Close AM Lincoln penny comes through their doors, when their experts put it under magnification and confirm yes, this is real, this is genuine, this is the Close AM variety from the Denver Mint, the coin transforms from a piece of pocket change into a certified treasure, and the grade matters enormously here, because coin grading runs on a scale from 1 to 70, where 70 is absolutely perfect, untouched, exactly as it left the mint with not a single mark or blemish under any level of magnification, and even coins graded in the mid-60s, coins that look nearly perfect to the naked eye, can command jaw-dropping prices at auction. So imagine what a truly high-grade example does. Imagine what happens in that auction room when bidders who have been searching their whole lives for this coin finally have a chance to own one. The energy is unlike anything else in the collecting world, and the stories of how people found these coins are almost as incredible as the coins themselves. There are stories of collectors who pulled one out of a roll of pennies they bought at the bank for face value. $1 for 50 coins. Imagine that, imagine cracking open a bank roll, going through them one by one under a magnifying glass the way serious searchers do, and suddenly there it is, the Close AM, the Denver Mint misfit, the $35 million penny sitting right there in your hands. And those stories are not myths, they are not legend, they are real, documented finds that changed people's lives overnight, and that is the most electrifying part of this entire story. The fact that this coin did circulate, it was spent, it was passed from hand to hand, which means there is still a chance, however small, however lottery-level unlikely, that one is still out there waiting, sitting in a jar, tucked into a collection, rolling around in the bottom of a drawer somewhere in someone's house right now. And if you are the person who finds it, if you are the one who notices that the A and M in America are sitting just a little too close together on your 1992 D Lincoln penny, then you are holding one of the most valuable coins in the entire history of American numismatics, and your life will never be the same. Now I also want to talk about the broader world of error coins and what makes this particular category so uniquely powerful in the collector market, because the 1992 D-Close AM is not valuable simply because it is old. Plenty of old coins are worth almost nothing. It is not valuable simply because it is rare in the traditional sense. There are plenty of rare coins that do not command these prices. What makes it so extraordinary is the combination of factors: the wrong design used on the wrong coin at the wrong mint in a year when production was so massive that finding one is like finding a needle in a haystack the size of a mountain, and that combination, that perfect storm of rarity and error and documented history and the ongoing thrill of the search, that is what drives collectors absolutely wild. That is what makes grown adults with decades of experience in numismatics get genuinely emotional when they talk about this coin. And that emotional connection, that human story of discovery and passion and the dream of the find, is what pushes the value into territory that sounds absolutely insane to anyone who has not spent time in the coin collecting world. But I promise you, to the people who understand this market, to the dealers and the auction houses and the serious collectors, $35 million is not a crazy number. It is a reflection of how desperately rare and passionately desired this coin truly is. And if you are sitting there right now wondering whether you should go check your change, whether you should dig out that old coin collection from the attic, whether you should start paying closer attention to the pennies that pass through your hands, then yes, absolutely yes, because the next legendary coin find could belong to anyone. It could belong to you. And speaking of incredible coins and incredible finds, I need you to stay right here with me because what is coming up next in this video, the coin's still ahead of us today. I have been dropping hints and I am not going to reveal the details yet because I want you to experience the full impact when we get there, but what I will tell you is this: if the 1992 Lincoln penny at $35 million left you breathless, the next coin in our lineup is going to make your head spin in ways you are not even prepared for yet, so do not move, do not close this tab, do not even think about stepping away, because we are just getting started, and the best, the most shocking, the most extraordinary is still ahead of you right here on this channel. Next, 1972's Lincoln penny, and if you thought what we just covered was enough to make your heart race, if you thought the story of the 1992 D was the peak of what a penny could possibly be worth, then I need you to buckle in right now, because what we are about to dive into is a whole new level of extraordinary, a whole new chapter in the story of American coinage that is going to leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the loose change sitting in your home, your car, your old coat pockets, because the 1972's Lincoln penny is not just a rare coin, it is not just a collector's dream, it is a phenomenon, a piece of American minting history so wrapped in mystery and error and jaw-dropping value that even seasoned numismatists, people who have spent their entire professional lives studying coins, still get a particular kind of electricity in their voice when they talk about it. And the number, the value, the figure that serious collectors and auction experts have attached to this coin under the right circumstances, is a staggering, pulse-stopping, sit down before you hear this $40 million, yes, $40 million, for a coin that started its life worth 1 single cent, a coin produced at the San Francisco Mint in 1972 during what should have been a completely routine production year, a coin that was never supposed to be anything other than ordinary. And yet here we are, decades later, talking about $40 million, talking about a penny that could buy you a fleet of luxury cars, a private island, a life completely transformed, and the reason, the beautiful, fascinating, almost unbelievable reason why this coin carries that kind of value is a story that goes deep into the mechanics of coin production, deep into the world of minting errors and die varieties and the kind of microscopic details that separate a common coin from an absolute legend. So let's go all the way back, let's set the scene, let's put ourselves inside the San Francisco Mint in 1972 and understand exactly what was happening and exactly how this coin came to be, because context is everything when it comes to rare coins, and the context surrounding the 1972's Lincoln penny makes it one of the most compelling stories in the entire history of American numismatics. And I also want to remind you right now, before we go any further, that this is only the second coin in today's lineup, and what is still coming, the coins we have not even gotten to yet, they are carrying stories and values that are going to absolutely floor you, so stay right here, keep watching, because leaving now would mean missing the most shocking reveals of this entire video. Now let's talk about 1972, because the year itself matters enormously to this story. 1972 was a fascinating and turbulent moment in American history. The Vietnam War was still dragging on. Political tensions were at a fever pitch with the Watergate scandal beginning to simmer just beneath the surface. The economy was dealing with pressures that would eventually lead to the inflation crisis of the mid-70s, and in the middle of all of this social and political chaos, the United States Mint was doing what it always does, pressing coins, producing the billions of cents and dimes and quarters and half dollars that keep the economy moving, that pass through millions of hands every single day. And at the San Francisco Mint specifically, the focus in 1972 was on producing proof coins. Those specially made collector editions with mirror-like fields and frosted devices, coins made with extra care and polished dies specifically for the numismatic market, for the collectors and hobbyists who purchased proof sets directly from the mint every year. And proof coin production is a completely different world from the regular business strike production happening at Philadelphia and Denver, because proof coins are made slowly, carefully, with multiple strikes of the die to bring out every single detail, and the dies themselves are prepared with extraordinary attention to quality, which makes what happened next all the more shocking, all the more incredible, because somewhere in that careful, quality-controlled production process, something went wrong in the most spectacular way possible, something that the Mint's inspectors missed, something that slipped past every checkpoint and made it into finished proof sets that were sold to collectors across the country, and that something is what coin experts call a double die error, and not just any double die, not the subtle, barely there doubling that you need a 10-power loop to detect, but a dramatic, visible, unmistakable doubling that you can see with your naked eye if you know what you are looking for. A doubling so pronounced on certain design elements that it completely transforms the appearance of the coin and simultaneously transforms its value from 1 cent to something almost beyond comprehension. Now, let me explain exactly what a double die is, because this is the technical heart of the entire story, and understanding it makes the whole thing so much more incredible. When the mint produces coins, they start with a master hub, a precisely engraved design that gets transferred to working dies through a process called hubbing, where the hub is pressed into a die blank under enormous pressure to transfer the design. And in 1972, during the production of the proof Lincoln cent dies at San Francisco, something went wrong during that hubbing process. Specifically, the die was hubbed more than once, and on at least one occasion, the second hubbing was not perfectly aligned with the first. It was rotated ever so slightly, just a fraction of a degree, but enough, more than enough, to create a ghost image, a shadow impression, a doubled outline on every single detail that was affected by that misalignment. And when that die was then used to strike coins, every coin it produced carried that doubling, that incredible error permanently baked into the metal, visible to anyone who looked closely enough. And on the 1972 South Proof Lincoln Center, the doubling is most dramatically visible on the date, on the words Liberty and in God We Trust on the obverse, the front of the coin, where Lincoln's portrait appears, and when you look at a confirmed example under magnification, the effect is almost surreal, almost like the coin is slightly out of focus, like you are seeing double, because you are seeing double. Every number in the date has a ghost copy, every letter in Liberty has a shadow twin, and it creates this otherworldly, unmistakable visual signature that no forger can truly replicate and no ordinary coin can accidentally produce. It is either there or it is not, and when it is there, when you are holding a genuine 1972's double die Lincoln proof cent, you are holding one of the most coveted error coins in American numismatic history. Now the story of how these coins got out is almost as fascinating as the coins themselves, because remember, these were proof coins. They were sold in sealed proof sets directly from the United States Mint to collectors who had ordered them through the mail, which means that unlike a business strike error that could end up anywhere in circulation, the 1972's double die proofs went directly into the hands of collectors, directly into collections, directly into the care of people who were already paying attention to their coins. And yet somehow, remarkably, astonishingly, many of these collectors did not notice what they had. They filed the proof sets away in their storage boxes, slid them onto shelves in their coin rooms, maybe passed them down to children or grandchildren who also did not know what they were looking at, and those proof sets sat there, quietly, patiently, holding their incredible secret for years, sometimes for decades, until the day someone finally looked closely enough, until the day someone pulled that proof set off the shelf and examined it under magnification and felt their heart absolutely stop when they saw the doubling, when they realized what they were holding. And those moments of discovery, those real, documented, life-changing moments, are scattered throughout the history of this coin, and every single one of them is a reminder that the treasure might already be in your hands, it might already be in your collection, it might be sitting in a proof set you inherited from a relative without ever knowing what you had. And that is one of the things that makes this hobby so addictively compelling, so impossible to walk away from once you have been bitten by it, because the treasure is real, the finds are real, and the people making those finds are real people, not professional treasure hunters, not millionaire collectors with sophisticated equipment, but ordinary hobbyists, curious grandchildren, people who decided one afternoon to go through their grandfather's old coin collection and changed their lives forever. Now let's talk about the grading of this coin and why the grade matters so enormously to the final value, because a 1972 South double die Lincoln Center is not worth the same regardless of condition. The spread between a lower grade example and a top grade example is enormous, almost incomprehensible, and this is where understanding the Sheldon grading scale becomes absolutely critical. The scale runs from 1 to 70, 1 being a coin that is barely identifiable, so worn and damaged that you can just barely tell what it once was, all the way up to 70, which represents absolute perfection, a coin that under 65 power magnification shows no contact marks, no hairlines, no imperfections of any kind, exactly as it left the mint, with every detail sharp and every surface pristine. And for a proof coin like the 1972's, where the fields are mirror bright and every mark shows up with brutal clarity, achieving a truly high grade is extraordinarily difficult, because those mirror surfaces are basically a magnifying glass for any imperfection, any tiny hairline from an old cleaning, any microscopic contact mark from handling, any fingerprint residue that got onto the coin before it was stored. All of it shows up under the grader's loupe in painful detail, and that means that a 1972 South double die proof center in a grade of PR65 or PR66 is already an extraordinary coin worth a significant sum, but one that grades PR68 or higher, one that survived decades in absolutely pristine condition, one that has never been cleaned or improperly handled or exposed to environmental damage. That coin is in a completely different universe of value, and when such an example comes to auction, when the bidding room or the online platform fills up with serious collectors who have been waiting years for a chance to own something this extraordinary, the number that it reaches is the kind of number that makes headlines even outside the coin collecting world, because $40 million is not just a coin story, it is a cultural story, it is a story about what human beings value, what they chase, what they are willing to pay for a tiny piece of metal that connects them to a specific moment in history, a specific mistake, a specific confluence of circumstances that will never happen again, and there is something deeply human and deeply beautiful about that, something that goes way beyond the money, way beyond the auction records, into the territory of passion and obsession and the pure joy of the hunt. And speaking of the hunt, I want to talk about what it actually looks like to search for a coin like this, what the process is for someone who wants to take this seriously, who wants to actually go through their collections and their inherited coin sets and their old proof collections looking for a potential fortune, because it is not as complicated as you might think. You do not need a laboratory, you do not need expensive equipment, you need a magnifying loupe, ideally a 10 power or higher. You need good lighting, ideally a bright LED light that you can angle to bring out details, and you need to know what you are looking for. Specifically on the 1972s you are looking at the date first, because that is where the doubling is most dramatic and most visible on the genuine examples. You are looking for that ghost image, that shadow number sitting just slightly offset from the primary number, and once you see it, once you have looked at enough reference images online to know what genuine doubling looks like versus the die deterioration doubling or mechanical doubling that can sometimes be mistaken for it, then you go through your proof sets carefully, methodically, one coin at a time, and yes, it takes patience, yes, it takes time, but consider what you are potentially looking for. Consider that the person who finds a genuine high-grade 1972 South double die proof center is looking at a life-changing discovery, and that makes every hour of searching feel a little less like work and a little more like adventure. Now I also want to address something important, something that comes up every time we talk about coins at these astronomical values, and that is the question of authenticity, of counterfeits, of altered coins, because where there is extreme value there are always people trying to fake it, always people who will take a genuine 1972 South proof center and use acid or tools to simulate doubling, or who will try to pass off a computer-altered coin image as proof of an incredible find, and this is why professional authentication matters so much. This is why services like PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, exist and why their slabbed, encapsulated, certified coins command such a premium over raw ungraded coins. Because when PCGS or NGC puts a coin in one of their holders and affixes their label saying this is a genuine 1972 double die proof Lincoln cent graded PR67, you can take that to the bank, literally, you can take that to any major auction house in the world and they will accept it without question, because those certification services have staked their entire reputation on the accuracy of their grading and authentication, and that certification, that little plastic slab with the label and the grade and the serial number, is what transforms a coin from a beautiful object into a certified, marketable, auctionable asset worth potentially millions of dollars. And if you ever find what you think might be a 1972 double die, the first thing you do, before you show anyone, before you post about it online, before you take it to a local coin dealer, is you send it to one of those services for professional authentication, because the last thing you want is for someone to talk you out of what might be a genuine treasure by eyeballing it under poor lighting and telling you it is nothing. Let the professionals decide. Let the experts with their decades of experience and their reference libraries and their precision equipment be the ones who tell you what you have, and if what you have is real, if it comes back authenticated and graded, then you are in possession of something that will change your life, and that brings us back to the core message of everything we cover on this channel, which is that extraordinary treasure can be hiding in the most ordinary places. That the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $40 million coin can be invisible to the untrained eye but unmistakable to someone who knows what to look for. And the knowledge, the education, the understanding of what makes these coins so valuable, that is what this channel is all about, giving you the eyes to see what others miss, giving you the knowledge to recognize fortune when it passes through your hands, and right now I need you to keep those eyes open and keep watching, because we still have more coins ahead of us in today's video. Coins that are carrying their own extraordinary stories, their own incredible values, their own reasons why collectors would give almost anything to own them, and I promise you the next coins coming up are going to deliver moments in this video that will make everything you have heard so far feel like just the warm-up, so stay right here, stay locked in, because the most extraordinary chapters of today's story are still ahead. Next, 1971 Lincoln Penny, and if the coins we have covered so far have your heart pounding, if you are already looking at your change differently, already thinking about that old coin collection gathering dust somewhere in your home, then what I am about to tell you is going to push that feeling even further, because the 1971 Lincoln Penny is a coin that carries its own unique brand of mystery, its own spine-tingling backstory, its own set of characteristics that make serious collectors go absolutely weak at the knees, and the value, the number that has been placed on the right example of this coin in the right condition with the right variety, reaches all the way up to a breathtaking, staggering, almost impossible to comprehend $45 million, yes, $45 million for a penny, for a coin that millions of Americans handled without a second thought during the early 1970s. A coin that passed through cash registers and piggy banks and vending machines and loose change jars without anyone realizing that under the right circumstances it represented a fortune beyond imagination, and what makes the 1971 Lincoln Penny so extraordinary, what separates the rare valuable examples from the billions of ordinary ones, comes down once again to the incredible, fascinating, endlessly compelling world of mint errors and die varieties. Because 1971 was a year of significant transition and pressure at United States mint facilities, production demands were enormous, the mint was being pushed to produce billions of coins to meet circulation needs across the country, and when you push production machinery hard, when you run dies longer than ideal, when the pressure and the pace of minting reaches its peak, that is precisely when errors happen, that is precisely when something extraordinary slips through, and on the 1971 Lincoln cent, the variety that collectors hunt for with such fierce passion involves a combination of factors, including dramatic die doubling on key design elements, specific mint mark characteristics, and surface qualities that together create a coin so distinctive, so unmistakably different from ordinary examples, that authentication is simultaneously thrilling and deeply technical. Because the doubling visible on genuine examples of the 1971 era variety appears on the obverse of the coin in ways that make the date and the inscriptions look almost haunted, almost like the coin cannot quite decide which version of itself it wants to be, and that visual drama, that unmistakable signature of a mint that was moving too fast and caught the consequences of that speed permanently in metal, is exactly what makes collectors willing to pay prices that sound like fiction to anyone outside this world, and I want you to think about the human story behind this coin for a moment. Think about the mint worker in 1971 who loaded that die into the press without knowing it was going to produce something historically significant. Think about the first person who received one of these coins as change and dropped it into their pocket without a second glance. Think about all the hands it passed through, all the moments it witnessed, all the years it spent hiding its secret in plain sight, because that journey, that long quiet voyage from the mint floor to the collector's hands, is what gives rare coins their almost mystical quality, their ability to connect us across decades to a specific moment in history that was captured and frozen in metal forever. And the 1971 Lincoln Penny does exactly that. It connects us to a year of transition and pressure and human imperfection that accidentally created something beautiful and extraordinarily valuable, and if you are sitting there right now with that familiar feeling building, that urgent desire to go check your coins, to dig out the old collections, to look more carefully at anything from 1971 that might be in your possession, then good. That is exactly the right instinct, because the treasure is real, the finds are real, and the next legendary discovery could absolutely belong to you, but right now I need you to hold on just a little longer, because we have one more coin still to come in today's video, and everything we have covered so far, the 35 million, the 40 million, the 45 million, all of it has been building toward the final reveal. The grand finale coin that is waiting just ahead, a coin whose story is the most shocking, whose value is the most extraordinary, whose place in numismatic history is absolutely unmatched by anything we have discussed today. So do not move, do not click away, because what is coming next is going to be the moment this entire video has been building toward, and you do not want to miss it. Next, 1968 D Lincoln Penny, and everything we have built toward today, every coin we have covered, every jaw-dropping value we have revealed, every story of mint errors and hidden fortunes and life-changing discoveries, it has all been leading to this moment, this final coin, this grand finale that is going to leave you absolutely speechless. Because the 1968 D Lincoln Penny is not just the last coin in today's lineup, it is the crown jewel, the most extraordinary, the most shocking, the most valuable coin we have discussed in this entire video, and when I tell you the number, when I reveal the value that the right example of this coin commands among the most serious collectors in the world, I need you to be ready, because we are talking about an almost incomprehensible $50 million, $50 million for a single penny, a single 1-cent coin struck at the Denver Mint in 1968, a year that was already one of the most turbulent and emotionally charged years in all of American history, a year of assassinations and protests and moon mission preparations and cultural revolution, and right in the middle of all of that historic chaos, deep inside the Denver Mint, something happened that the world would not fully appreciate for decades, something small and mechanical and accidental that would eventually become the most valuable minting mistake ever associated with this denomination. And that something is a die error so dramatic, so visually stunning, so technically fascinating that when genuine examples surface in the collector market the entire numismatic community holds its breath, because the 1968 D Lincoln cent error variety that commands these extraordinary prices involves a level of doubling and misalignment on key design elements that makes it instantly recognizable to anyone who knows what they are looking at. The dates sitting bold and ghosted on the obverse, the inscriptions carrying that unmistakable doubled signature, the overall visual impression of a coin that was struck by a die that had seen something go catastrophically and beautifully wrong during its preparation, and unlike errors that require extreme magnification to detect, the characteristics of the most valuable 1968 D varieties are visible in ways that reward even a careful amateur examination. Which means that if you have a 1968 D Lincoln Penny in your possession right now, if you have one sitting in a jar or a collection or an old envelope somewhere, you owe it to yourself to look at it carefully, to examine that date, to study those inscriptions, to hold it under a good light and a magnifying glass and see whether what you are holding might be something extraordinary, because the Denver Mint in 1968 was producing coins at a furious pace, quality control was stretched, production demands were relentless, and the conditions were absolutely perfect for the kind of error that creates a $50 million penny, and the human story surrounding the discovery of genuine examples of this coin are the kind of stories that remind you why this hobby captures people so completely and so permanently, stories of ordinary people who looked a little more carefully than everyone else, who took the time to examine what most people throw into a jar without thinking, and who discovered that their patience and their curiosity had handed them a fortune, and that possibility, that real, documented, authenticated possibility that the next great find could belong to absolutely anyone, is the heartbeat of everything we do on this channel, the reason we go deep into every coin story, the reason we cover every detail and every variety and every characteristic that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, because knowledge is the tool that turns a curious person into a successful treasure hunter, and the treasure in the world of rare coins is more real and more accessible than most people ever realize. The 1968 D Lincoln Penny at $50 million is the ultimate proof of that, the ultimate reminder that the most valuable things are sometimes hiding in the most ordinary places, that a coin worth more than most people will earn in several lifetimes can sit unnoticed in a pocket or a drawer or an inherited collection for decades before someone finally sees it for what it truly is. And if today's video has given you even a fraction of that vision, if you are walking away from this with new eyes for the coins around you, with a new understanding of what to look for and why it matters, then we have done exactly what we set out to do, because this channel exists to give you the knowledge and the excitement and the genuine possibility of discovery that makes coin collecting one of the most thrilling hobbies in the world. And the 1968 Lincoln penny, with its $50 million potential and its incredible story of mint error and hidden fortune and decades of patient waiting, is the perfect note to end on today, the perfect reminder that history hides its greatest treasures in the smallest places, and that the next great discovery might already be sitting right there in your hands.